Well, we told you yesterday about the search for the Miami-Dade Police Department for several vehicles submerged in a Doral lake.
And today we're hearing from the person who first found the cars and reported it to police.
NBC6's Amanda Placencia spoke to that diver and has the story.
Over 30 vehicles were found in this lake in Doral, and today we spoke to the group that made the initial discovery before turning it over to police.
South Florida is a busy area, and you never know what you can find in the water down there.
Michael Sullivan spends most of his time underwater, searching for cars connected to missing persons cases. But he never expected to find a sunken landscape of dozens of cars in a lake in Doral.
That was a huge discovery for us. We actually found 44 that weekend. So across from this 32, there's 7 in a pond across the street. There's 1 down the way, and we have multiples around the county.
Ken Fleming with Recon Dive Recovery says this find over the weekend has been their biggest one yet. Many of the cars were relics, underwater for over 20 years.
We've sonar searched those lakes and located those vehicles, and then the 3 teams dove on those vehicles together.
Sunshine State Sonar is a volunteer search team specializing in using underwater sonar technology. They work with families and law enforcement as they dive into the past to try and solve missing persons cases. With their dive partners, they have an open list of cases in South Florida, but the case of Ronald Gilchrist, who went missing in the 80s, is what brought them to the area.
He was headed for Miami Airport to pick up his family, never picked up his family, and that's one of the reasons we're focusing on airport-adjacent bodies of water.
These volunteers first use sonar equipment similar to fish finders before they go down into the murky depths.
It's equivalent to walking in a dark room at night with 4 walls and shining a flashlight. And so what we're looking for is the shadows. You're not going to actually see the vehicle. You're going to see the shadow behind the vehicle.
Miami-Dade police recovered 4 of the cars on Tuesday. So far, 2 were confirmed as stolen vehicles. Sullivan shared why they're so passionate on this mission.
We work with families, and when you meet these families and you can see the hurt, their loved ones were missing for 10, 15, 20 years. And when, law enforcement comes up empty, and there's nothing left they can do, that's when we come in and see if we can, sort of fill that void and that gap that's left there and, do the underwater stuff, especially when there's a vehicle involved.
None of these cars have been linked to any missing persons cases yet, but there are still many cars left to pull out as this investigative work continues. Reporting in Doral, Amanda Placencia, NBC6 News.